Today on America's Test Kitchen,
Brian cooks shrimp fra diavolo.
Jack has Chris tasting fire-roasted tomatoes. Lisa reveals her favorite seltzer makers. And Julia prepares Chiappino right here on America's Test Kitchen.
Travel to southern Italy. It's a sunny afternoon by the Amalfi Shore. A glass of Chianti, a Cinzano umbrella, and your waiter brings a plate of shrimp fra diavolo. Sweet and briny shellfish, all napped in a sauce with a spirited kick of pepper and garlic. It's a dream come true.
Really? That sounds like a line from Mad Men. I don't believe it at all. In fact, shrimp fra diavolo is usually twice cooked rubbery shrimp and a tomato sauce that has so much garlic. You have dragon breath for days. So let's go to the test kitchen with Brian and figure out a way to make an easy, tender, and juicy version, and one that doesn't lie, of shrimp fra diavolo. So as you know, we have a few fans out there. This is a nice letter we just received. And this gentleman writes, "My wife and I love watching your show. Since Chris is such a good-natured and animated celebrity," don't laugh, "have you ever considered developing a bobblehead of him?" So here we go. This is for you, actually. So here we are. We have, now I have to say, it doesn't really bobble. It's more like a nervous tick. You like that? Anyway, we're going to put this on your desk so I can watch you work all the time. So speaking of working, let's talk about shrimp.
All right, so what we're doing today is shrimp fra diavolo. And as you know, that most versions are twice cooked shrimp, rubbery, strong garlic flavor, and overwhelming chili heat. We wanted to avoid all those things and find a nice balance between the fiery characteristics of classic shrimp fra diavolo, but still have room for the shrimp to taste like shrimp. I have 1.5 pounds of 2630 peel-on shrimp. 2630 means that there's 26 to 30 shrimp per pound.
So they're medium shrimp, yeah.
Medium to medium large.
I'm a simple guy. They're medium shrimp. What? Okay.
I'm just taking my paring knife and inverting it so the blade is facing up. I'm just kind of running it right along the vein there. And then all the shrimp, you want to make sure you get the tail piece off too. And just peel it all off. To this shrimp, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to mix that. Okay, Chris, so I have 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil that I've heated up over high heat here in this 12-inch skillet. And we're going to add the shells. So the reason why we went to the trouble of peeling 1.5 pounds of shrimp is because these shells contain a lot of flavor. They have a lot of protein, sugars, and those flavor-boosting compounds known as nucleotides and glutamates. I'm just going to spread them out into a thin layer and let them cook until they're nice and spotty brown and the bottom of the skillet has developed a nice bond.
How long is that going to be?
That's going to be about 4 minutes.
Okay.
While that's going on, we're going to drain off 1 28-ounce can of whole peeled tomatoes.
This is in juice?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we're going to puncture the tomatoes slightly just to let all the juice that's inside of them run out through the colander and into the bowl beneath. Okay, so we have the juice there in the bottom of that bowl. We're going to add the tomatoes back to this bowl. Okay, Chris, you can see that the shrimp shells have started to brown nicely and that there's a little bit of fond building up on the bottom of the skillet. So we want to deglaze this with 1 cup of dry white wine. But we want to remove it from the heat because this sucker will bubble like the devil himself. And once the bubbling kind of calms down a little bit, we'll bring it back to the heat and we'll cook that for about 4 minutes until it reduces to about 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
And now we're going to add our tomato juice that we drained off the tomatoes. So we're going to let the tomato juice simmer with those shells for about 5 minutes to really meld the flavors. And that's going to give us a lot of the shrimp flavor that most recipes lack. So this has been simmering for about 5 minutes. And we're going to just drain this mixture back into our colander. We want to just press on those shrimp shells to release as much of the liquid in there as possible. And we're just going to go ahead and discard those shrimp shells. And now we've got half of our tomato base, and it's really got this strong shrimp flavor to it.
So in effect, you made a really quick shrimp stock, right?
That's exactly what I did. So now we're just going to wipe out the skillet, and we're going to move on with the rest of the process.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, so now we're ready to start building our sauce base. I'm going to heat up 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil with 4 minced garlic cloves, half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and half a teaspoon of dried oregano. And I'm just going to bring that up to temperature over medium heat. We're going to cook that until it gets nice and straw-colored and fragrant, which takes about 1 to 2 minutes.
So usually we heat up the oil first and then add the other ingredients. This is, you want a more gentle cooking for the garlic?
Right, it really helps the garlic and chili flakes bloom by doing it like this. All right, Chris, you see the garlic's got some nice color to it, and you can really smell everything starting to bubble away. We're going to add 2 minced anchovy fillets. We found that this ingredient really brought out the brininess of the shrimp. We'll just cook that for about 30 seconds.
But it's not going to taste like anchovies, right?
No, it never does. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shut off the heat, and we're going to add our whole peeled tomatoes. And we want to mash those tomatoes with a potato masher. And we found that if we use, say, canned crushed tomatoes, it was too much of a thick sauce, and it kind of overwhelmed the flavor of the shrimp and garlic. And now we can go ahead and add our fortified tomato juice. And we're going to let that simmer for about 5 minutes over medium-high heat, just to meld the flavors.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, so it's been about 5 minutes, and you can see that this sauce is thickened slightly. You can see a trail when you run the spatula through it. And now we're going to add our shrimp. So this is where our recipe differs from so many others. A lot of recipes would have you saute the shrimp and garlic up front, then add the tomato sauce and cook the whole thing together until the shrimp is
Rubbery.
like a rubber band, right. So what we're doing here is we're just kind of sliding the shrimp into our hot tomato sauce, and we're turning it, every minute or so, just so we poach it nice and gently, and the shrimp remains nice and succulent and moist. And it's going to take about 5 minutes to cook the shrimp all the way through. Okay, Chris, you can see that the shrimp is all nice and pink, and it's just cooked through. So we're going to turn off the heat and add the remaining ingredients. We have 1/4 cup of chopped fresh parsley, 1/4 cup of chopped fresh basil, 1½ teaspoons of minced pepperoncini, and 1 teaspoon of the pepperoncini brine. We really found like these 2 ingredients help bring out the brininess of the shrimp. Just kind of stir that all in. We're just going to drizzle 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil over top.
Looks good. Smells good.
Smells good too, right? And now
It's time? Okay.
it's time.
Finally someone who makes this dish without overcooked shrimp. Every time you bite into it, it's rubbery.
It's not too spicy, is it?
Well, I have complaints about everything, as you know.
Yeah, sure. No, I didn't know that.
But this dish, it's so hot sometimes that you can't taste. I mean, the shrimp are supposed to be sweet. You're supposed to be able to taste them. There's too much spice in it. All you do is taste the heat, right? This is easy, perfect, simple, done. One of the best recipes all year. So one of the secrets of making great shrimp fra diavolo is making a shrimp stocking where we serve shells and the juice from that can of tomatoes. And then instead of sauteing the shrimp, we actually poached them in that liquid so we didn't overcook them. So there you have it, from America's Test Kitchen to your kitchen. A very simple but delicious version of shrimp fra diavolo. You can get this recipe, all the recipes from the season. You can get our equipment ratings, taste tests, and watch select episodes of this show, all at our website, which is, of course, americastestkitchen.com. Great job.
Thanks.
Over many years, we've tasted lots of different types of canned tomatoes, and today we're going to taste fire roasted. My first question for Jack is, they just throw some liquid smoke in the can? I mean, they don't fire roast them, right?
They do.
No.
They do, Chris. I'm going to explain, but I first have to explain why you are not tasting tomatoes straight from the can. So when we did this tasting, we said, a lot of these companies are marketing them as a better product than regular diced tomatoes, and we would beg to differ. In a lot of basic Italian recipes, you don't want to be using this product. So this is a enchilada sauce, homemade enchilada sauce, where we found that this is a good place to be using fire roasted tomatoes. Mexican cooking, chilies, enchilada sauces really boost the flavor more quickly than regular diced tomatoes.
Can I stop for a second? So you're giving me a spicy sauce. I mean, I'm going to lose. All I taste is the spice. You're tough.
This is not that spicy, Chris.
Okay, but you're talking meat here. Okay.
So I did put a ringer in here. I will tell you up front, one of these is made with regular diced tomatoes, and the other 3 are made with the fire roasted. Now, to answer your question about what is fire roasted, there are 2 ways they're building flavor. They are passing the tomatoes under or over a gas flame. 2 of the 3 brands are adding additional flavors. So Muir Glen, their fire roasted tomatoes, same ingredients as their regular diced tomatoes. It's just tomatoes, tomato juice, salt, citric acid for a little brightness, and calcium chloride for firmness. The other 2 companies, Hunt's and DeLallo, are adding garlic powder, onion powder, natural flavorings, which...
Liquid smoke?
Well, now, DeLallo would go on the record and say they are not adding liquid smoke. Hunt's would not tell us, and it could be liquid smoke, it might not be liquid smoke. There's no way to know. So, it's a lot of setup. Anything besides heat that you're tasting?
No, that's about it, folks. So I just have a question. You believe them about under this gas thing? It's like you think Tinkerbell really exists? I mean, it sounds like a lot of marketing. Wouldn't it be really expensive to set up the... No?
I believe, Chris.
I believe. Okay.
Well, I think one of the reasons that I believe is that when you open the can and dump out the contents, you notice charred flecks. And so, assuming that those
They
are
painted them black.
that those are from the tomatoes, then it does seem like the tomatoes
Could be something else.
Yes, I'm believing that that's what it's from. And in fact, in one brand, we found like there was a lot of charred flecks of skin. Seems like they were removing less of the skin than they should have, which wasn't necessarily a good thing. You really want the charred flecks to be from the flesh, not from the skin. So, I know this is spicy. I know this is hard, but felt like straight from the can, it really wasn't a good illustration of the potential of a fire roasted
Here's
tomato.
what really happened. Jack said if we did it from the can, it'd be too easy for him. So let's like spice it up so he's going to destroy his palate. Okay. Well, this one has some weird spices in it. It's like some other flavors.
Okay.
It's like it's got cinnamon in or something. It's got something else in there, which is kind of weird. This one doesn't taste fire roasted to me. This one had the most amount of smoke, I think. Of course, I can't tell because my palate's blown, but you know.
I will say, for normal human beings, this is not spicy.
I'm going to cry any moment.
That's what I love about you, Chris. You know,
I'm sensitive.
You're strong in a lot of ways, except when it comes to chilies.
You love every minute of this, don't you? This, insipid, not much flavor, weird spices.
Okay.
These two are the best. I'd probably pick this one.
Let's start with the thing that you liked. Oh, Chris, you chose the one that was made with regular
Oh,
diced
good.
tomatoes.
Good.
So this is our top-rated plain diced tomatoes, Hunt's. We felt like it added nothing additional beyond the tomato flavor.
Besides the heat. This
well,
is my second one.
That was our favorite, the Delalo, which was the winner. It's made with garlic, onion. It has a little bit of yeast extract, so it's got some umami in there. It adds a lot of personality to the tomatoes. And if you're going to make an enchilada sauce, it's a good choice.
I think they all had a lot of personality. This one was muddy with spices.
This is the Muir Glen. So this is the most natural of the fire roasted in the sense they're not adding additional ingredients. They're just adding some roasting during the processing. It was our middle choice.
I thought this one had the least amount of flavor. It was the most blandest, I thought.
Yeah, we didn't really like the Hunt's fire roasted because we felt like there were some fake notes that we're not sure were artificial smoke, but really did not taste natural to us.
So although I had a hard time telling the difference between any of these brands because my palate's shot, the winner, according to people who can do this, is Delalo diced fire roasted tomatoes.
Who doesn't love seltzer? It's so crisp and refreshing. That's why we tested 4 models of home seltzer makers. Now, these promise to let you skip hauling heavy bottles home from the store and then having to get rid of the empties later. You can turn tap water into seltzer in seconds. Now there's 2 styles, the handheld, which are cheaper and smaller, and these standalone models. They all fizzed up the water, but just forget this handheld style. They're not convenient. You have to refill them with these little cartridges before every bottle you carbonate, and then you have to shake the bottles to finish the job. Not my idea of fun. Now the standalone model we liked best was the SodaStream Source. This thing has a cartridge that can do up to 60 liters of water before you need to change it. The machine and 2 of these cartridges cost $99.99, and you can buy